Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingman Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, my main man, the guy who watches my six, is Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul?
Hello, Mr. Drew. It's good to see you. I'm doing fine today. I'm up, I'm alive, I'm kicking, did my stretches, and I'm ready to go.
Good. I did a little weight training this morning. I'm ready to go too. Let's start off with our quote. Everyone shines given the right lighting. That's Susan Cain. But listen to this. Everyone shines given the right lighting. And I've always said that, Paul. I said everybody's a LeBron James and something. You just got to find out what it is, and then you got to bust your ass in that area, and you will be successful. Huh, Paul?
Yeah, you have said that. You've been consistent about that. And for those who may not know who LeBron James is, hopefully they do. You think they do? Yeah. Well, in case they don't, he's a very famous American basketball player, probably the most famous in the world at this time. And you'll see him in the Olympics one day pretty soon.
Yes, and he's considered the best basketball player ever to live, except maybe Michael Jordan. All right, Dr. Paul, let's get going, man. The name of this show today is How to Have Better Sex. Follow these 7 healthy tips. So we got 7 healthy tips, Paul. Why don't you start out with number 1?
Number 1 is successful couples use the bedroom for sleeping. They use the bedroom for sleeping. In other words, people get sleep. They get good sleep. Good sleep is important for all your bodily functions, actually. And if you don't believe me, just try not sleeping for overnight or enough time. Everybody comes up groggy like they're drunk. They're in bad shape. That messes you up inside, all of your insides, all of your functioning. And in fact, you can actually, it's considered a form of torture to deny a person sleep. So yes, successful couples use the bedroom for sleeping. You got to get your sleep. They say I hear 6 to 8 hours, I hear 5 to 8 hours. 8 hours is a common time. Probably 6 to 8 is what most people will probably achieve. Some folks say there's an entrepreneur I listen to. He says if he gets 8 hours or more, he feels like he can cure cancer the next day. He's like a workaholic guy. That's obviously an exaggeration, but we do better when we get the proper rest.
Well, Paul, I just read that you need at least 7 hours. And as you get older, maybe a little bit less, but you have to have between 7 and 8 hours of sleep to actually rejuvenate your body. But here's the cool thing about successful couples. If a woman gets an extra hour of sleep, believe it or not, they say that she is 14% more likely to have sex the next day. So maybe you should just let your wife sleep in a little bit. How about number 2? Successful couples never crash diet. And the reason they're saying that is because diets just don't work. And in order to have a healthy body, you have to have all your nutrients, your fats, all your protein. You have to have a real good diet in order to be healthy. And a lot of crash diets, either keto or fasting, they actually don't give you all your minerals and vitamins daily. And that can have an adverse reaction on your successful couples.
Well, yeah, diet, what you eat is important, like everything else. If you're in an area that doesn't have many good food choices or you make bad food choices, everything suffers because our bodies are all, consist of multiple systems that have to work together with each other, like any machine.
All right, what's number 3, Paul?
Number 3, successful couples soak up the sun. In other words, you get vitamin D. Vitamin D is so important for many things, which I grew up not knowing that, but we were outside all the time. We were always outside all the time. It was not much of a factor. In modern life, a lot of people have problems if they have like peaked skin, but it includes your internal bodily functions too. In fact, I take a vitamin D supplement every day. It's mixed with D and K2, which is another thing you need to have. I'm outside a fair amount, but certainly not like it was when I was young or even when I was working actively. So we do need more sun. Uh, you can get artificial light, but the best light is sunlight if you can get it. If you're challenged in an Arctic environment where it's dark, half the year or several months during the year, it's worse. And those people have some have what they call SAD, seasonable adjustment disorder, I think it's called. And that's just having not enough sun, and they become depressed, and it causes a lot of emotional problems. So sun for the sex, physical stuff, everything. We need sunlight. So get outside, take a walk if you can.
Paul, if you have a vitamin D deficiency, they say that that's actually could be the cause of ED, erectile dysfunction. And they're saying that D is so important and you need to get a supplement or you get it from your milk and your yogurt or you go outside, but very, very, very carefully, be very careful of the sun because melanoma is a real cancer and you got to be careful. So you need to protect yourself from the sun, but you need the sun. And actually, my mom always used to say, she used to put out her arms and she'd say, Buddy Drew, it's time to rejuvenate your batteries. And she would look up at the sun and just look up. My children do that. Taryn and Drew do that. We just look up at the sun and we rejuvenate our batteries.
That's interesting you say that because my mother said something somewhat similar. She didn't say rejuvenate. She would say go outside and recharge your batteries.
I think rejuvenate and recharge about the same thing.
The same thing. Yeah. Yes, she would say that. Yep.
All right. Number 4, successful couples work their muscles. Now, both you and I both know how important exercise is and how we always talk about it on this show because we know that when you exercise, your serotonin goes up, your dopamine goes up, everything about you gets better. But sex, they're saying that if you're healthy and you exercise and you work your muscles, it actually can benefit you. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, of course. Again, that's part of the bodily functions. That's the reason we exercise is to keep everything working and moving. So, being sedentary has no real advantages. Even if you look at those astronauts that go into space, they typically have some kind of exercise bike or like a little home gym inside of the capsule that they need to work on so that they don't lose too much muscle mass. They'll have losses and bone density changes in space, but just like on the Earth, you basically got to keep moving. You got to keep moving on this planet and above the planet.
That's very true. And they also say that when you work your muscles and you strengthen your muscles, you get more testosterone. The men will get more testosterone by actually exercising and doing that weight training.
Yes.
Number 5.
Successful couples avoid late night sweets. Late night sweets. So I guess you can't have the chocolate cake and pie and ice cream, probably and cookies. So no late night snacking. I think we're talking about sugar here.
Yes, we are. We're talking about crack. We're talking about crack. Sugar is crack and it's horrible for you. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's don't drink a lot. You can drink anything alcoholic certainly, but sugary snacks and desserts. And that's kind of tough if you go to the supermarket. I mean, they've got aisles of very, very pretty looking stuff that's the first thing you go to, at least the supermarket I go to. There's a line of desserts behind the meats, desserts, and the fruits and vegetables are in the diagonal opposite corner of the store. You've got to work to get there because everything goes
But
kind of.
Paul,
Go ahead.
well, Paul, they always say that if you go to a supermarket, stay on the outside. Don't go into the inside of the aisles and everything. But if you stay on the outside, that's where you get your fruits, your vegetables, and all the healthy things.
All right.
Another thing is,
I never heard that, but I do that. I do stay on the outside. I do a big counterclockwise circle.
Wow, that's cool. But look, if you do have to have a little sweet, there's nothing wrong with God's sugar, and that's some fruit. You can have a little watermelon, you can get some crackers maybe, but do not eat sugar. Yeah, I don't think you should eat sugar anytime, but especially at night. All
Right.
right, number six, successful couples drink a lot. And we're not talking about whiskey. We're talking about water. You have to be hydrated for any of your sexual functions to work. What do you think, Paul?
Well, Drew, our bodies are made up mostly of water, like three quarters, so that makes perfect sense.
Number seven, you want to tell us, Paul?
Successful couples make their bed daily. Basically, declutter things, make things clean and neat. Uh, it just, nobody likes, I don't know. I don't like being in a mess. Nobody likes being in a mess. In fact, remember that book? I think we mentioned it before by Admiral McCraven. It's called Make Your Bed. And it was a book inspired by a graduation speech he gave at the University of Texas. He was the head of the SOCOM Special Operations Group, and then went on to be the chancellor at the University of Texas. And he gave a very rousing speech to the graduating class, the University of Texas, one year. It was entitled "Make Your Bed," and it was so popular he wrote a book about it. It's a good book. It's a small book. We'll flash a picture of the cover there. But make your bed, make your bed. But his thing was, if you make your bed, other things in life will flow to you more naturally, and you'll do better at everything. It's called Make Your Bed. We'll show that.
No,
So it applies to sex and applies to life. Declutter your life.
Paul, you know what? Actually, when you make your bed, you actually bring down your stress. You bring down your chaos in your life. And you should make the bed together. So that's not bad. But they're talking about actual stress. Stress is a horrible thing to have in your body. And it's actually the number one killer in the world.
Mhm.
So when you make your bed, it kind of declutters that chaos in you.
Yeah, I agree. Because of chaos and it's if the bed is smooth, maybe you're smooth at least for that moment.
How about that? All right, Paul, you know, we're a show about good news. And let's start off with some good news. Do you know the odds of winning a lottery is 1 in 14 million? Well, what about these odds? This is 1 in 11 billion. They have a family called the Redina family, and all four daughters were valedictorians of their high school. Can you believe that? The last one was 18, and her name was Riley. Her sisters, Taylor, who was 20, Elisa, 22, and Macaulay, 24, all were valedictorians of the same high school in Titusville, Florida. I think that was a lot of pressure on that fourth girl.
Yeah, I think so. People, the valedictorian typically is someone that has the highest grades in the school. So you're saying like each child had the highest grades for their year. I mean, what are the chances of that happening? To be a
It's 1 in
valedictorian?
11 billion.
Yeah. I wonder what it is. What if about the salutatorian? The salutatorian is like the number two person in the school, and they give a farewell address, but I think they're a little more relaxed. Uh, More like I guess some of them can be like stand-up comedy types. Valedictorian is a little more serious. But yeah, that the chance of that. You said was how many? It was 1 in 10 billion.
1 in 11 billion, the chances are. And Paul, you know, the salutatorian you were just talking about, do you know if that last girl would have just become number two, she could have felt like a failure. So there had to be a lot of pressure on her. And since we're talking about billions, more good news. How about Melinda Gates just gave $1 billion to support women's rights? She realized that only 6% of all donations go to women organizations.
How much is she giving? She's given 1 billion to them, but she's given many billions, hasn't she?
Yes, but this billion is just for women. Just for women. That's the good news. I got some better news for you, Paul. You know how much wedding dresses cost now? They're very, very expensive. Well, if you go to New Jersey, there is a library in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, who has a director, and her name is Adele Puccio. Believe it or not, she collects wedding dresses. And what she does is she's made this organization where people who have had their wedding dresses in their closets for years and years, they donate their wedding dresses, and now you can go to the library and check out a wedding dress for free. How about that good news?
Well, it's still, oh, Drew, I think a lot of women really like that because those things can be really, really expensive. I assume they bring them back in in good condition. That's an unusual hobby. It's a little bit different than stamp collecting. I guess it's a public service to save money for a lot of people that couldn't
So
afford it.
anybody out there who can hear my voice and you need a wedding dress, just go to Fair Lawn, New Jersey. It's the Maurice M. Pine Free Public Library. Free dresses. That's incredible. And they're saying some of these dresses, Paul, are 100 years old. Well, let me ask you a question, Paul. Out of Aldi, Target, and Walmart, which do you think gives you the best prices?
Aldi, Publix, and Walmart. Let's see, Walmart. Go to Walmart, not much. Go to Aldi a little bit more. I would say Aldi.
Well, you are right. And I guess that's why you're Dr. Paul. Aldi is the cheapest out of the three. If things cost $64 in Aldi, they cost 67 in Walmart and 84 in Target. But I got something that I just read about Target today. Paul, do you realize that Target has stopped taking personal checks? No more checks in Target.
Oh, really? Okay.
When's the last time you wrote a check?
In a store, I'd have to be put under hypnosis. It's been a while. I can't tell you offhand.
Have you ever been in a store, Paul, and somebody in front of you is writing a check and it seems to just block up the line forever?
I remember that from years ago. Sometimes they're slow. You know, right where, I guess we're getting a little bit off topic, but where I've seen people not write a check, but really delay things. It was at an airline counter years ago when they had paper tickets.
Oh, yes.
It's like,
Oh,
I need to check in, nothing's wrong, and the person in front of me, everything in life has gone wrong. You know, all I wanted to do is check in. It was like almost impossible. Uh, that was worse. Not a lot of people holding the line up for checks.
a lot. I haven't written a check in years, Paul. I haven't written a check in years. All right. But what is cheaper than Aldi, Walmart, and Target? I got a better grocery store for you. It's in
Let's
Saskatchewan, Canada, and it is a free grocery store. The first free grocery store in Canada. And the reason that it's a grocery store is usually people who get free food, they just box up food and they give it to you. Well, now you have a little bit more dignity when you get to collect your own food and put your own food in a basket. And they also said it saves a lot on waste because you're not getting food that you don't use.
Okay. Saskatchewan is life on the prairies, as they call them in Canada. Uh, Food bank. Yeah, I guess they've got a population that's not doing too well up there. That's a great thing. Yeah, I looked at a picture of it, and the food bank looks like a regular big supermarket. I think they put it together with donations, private donations from outside agencies.
They sure do. It's not a government run thing. They get private donations. All right, everybody, check out those badass jets we got behind us. Matter of fact, behind me is the jet that Paul flew, the A7 Corsair. And Paul, why don't you tell me about your jet, that T-45?
Yeah, T-45 Goshawk is a primary. Well, it's a primary jet trainer for the U.S. Navy. For a while, they're looking for a replacement. They've been flying from, I guess, since the mid 80s, making it pretty old. But the Air Force is still using their T-38s, which are like 65 years old. It's an old technology, and both services are looking for a replacement. The thing that got me is that eventually the Navy replacement probably will not have a tail hook because they're not going to be landing. They won't need to land on a ship with it. You'll be able to get the plan is you'll be able to get your wings without having landed on the ship first. They'll do FCLPs and I guess a lot of simulator stuff. And that's actually happening already. I have a neighbor down the street from me whose son is flying F-18s, and he got his first carrier landings in F-18s. Except for some reason, they were not able to uh, do the carrier qualifications when he was at Meridian, Mississippi.
Why
So
don't you tell them, Paul, what FCOPs are?
oh, I'm sorry, I should have done that. Yeah, all these acronyms. Field carrier landing practice. Typically, you practice a lot,
Hundreds of them, hundreds of them, hundreds
hundreds,
of them before
maybe
they let
maybe
you go to the
maybe
ship.
1,000, yeah, hundreds per airplane before you go to the ship, which is an event, kind of like going into space. But anyway, they're talking about waiving that totally, or we're not
Wow.
waiving it, eliminating it, because
Well, they won't be able to call themselves badass jet pilots, that's for sure. All right, Paul. Everybody out there, thank you so much for watching us, supporting us on Apple Podcasts, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Thank you so much. And we have a great newsletter. And you can get our newsletter at wingmanshow.com. That's wingmanshow.com. You can get our newsletter. Matter of fact, our newsletter this week is how to start taking better care of yourself. And on our newsletter, we also have something called the frequent flow line, where you can write Dr. Paul and myself, and you can ask us a question. And I have a question for this week. It is from a woman in Rome, Georgia, a 27-year-old woman in Rome, Georgia. She says swimming's very important to her, and she wants her son to swim, but he's scared of the water. Are there any suggestions? Why don't you start off, Paul?
okay, he's scared of the water. Well, first thing I would tell her is that there's hope. There's hope, and this will pass. I know something about this. I never had that problem. I kind of grew up in the water. I went to AOCS, the Navy system. The swim training is very intense. I think all the services have more intense swim trainings now, because I knew guys who were in different branches of the military never learned how to swim at all.
Wow.
That's no longer the case. But the Navy swim program is definitely challenging. But I have a better story about that, about fear of swimming, because my dear college roommate had a deathly fear of swimming. I mean, deathly fear of swimming. Eventually, he got over it. Now, this is a guy who went to airborne school, so he had jump wings. He trained with the Army after our first year through ROTC. He trained with the Army, and he got designated as a Army jumper at Fort Benning years ago. But he was deathly afraid of anything with water. So we would take him, other friends of mine, would take him to try to swim. He was afraid to almost look at the water. And he would get so bad, he said, "Don't touch me." We would laugh. "It's not going to hurt you. I mean, you're not even in waist deep water." And he'd say, "Well, try it. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I'll kill you if you get, I'll kill you." What do you mean kill me? You can't even stand up. He would do that. He would, because his eyes were, and out of the water, he could actually. But in the water, he was pretty helpless. Over time, period of years, he actually became a very good diver, became a scuba diver as
Wow.
an adult, from a deathly fear. That was the most extreme case I ever saw.
You know
What's
what
that?
happened to me, Paul?
No.
Actually, in AOC, well, first let me answer her question.
Yeah.
If he is scared of the water, you need to find another instructor, because the instructors for swimming are so important that they get into your psyche. And I bet you can find somebody that will teach him how to swim. But the biggest thing is, don't give up. Do not quit, because that fear will just get bigger. And 2/3 of the world is water. And my mama told me this, and she was very serious. Don't marry anybody who can't swim. And I promise you, when I asked Katrina, when I was talking to her, one of the questions I asked, "Can you swim?" And I was so happy she said yes. But when I went to AOCS, that's Aviation Officer Candidate School, that's how you learn how to fly in the Navy. When I first went to AOCS, like Paul said, the swimming is incredible and extremely hard. And when I first went to the pool, because I'm Black, it looked like a lot of people were around me, a lot of the instructors around me when I jumped in the water, like they didn't think I could swim. And what I did is I stayed under the water a little bit longer than I should have. And when I came up, they were freaking nervous. And then I busted right out into the butterfly, and they were like, dang, this brother can swim. So that's what I think about swimming, Paul.
Yeah, yeah, learn it early. I'll tell you, just with my grandson, he started swimming, and we took him to a swim class with young kids, young people. So I agree with you. There's all kinds of programs around. Uh,
Paul, I want to tell you this. Drew's best friend, one of my sons, I could say, Dr. Yao Bauchi, he has two girls, and they learned how to swim by getting pushed into the pool by these instructors. In other words, it was in case you fell into the water, what you could do.
Mhm.
And they've become very good swimmers. It was a kind of drastic program, but that's what they did. And you know what that brings me to? A Wingman PSA from the 11 facts in life. Under fact number 10, forgiveness, patience, and tolerance are the virtues that set you free. Forgiveness, patience, and tolerance are the virtues that set you free. That forgiveness, Dr. Paul, is really important. Anybody with vengeance, I heard this a long time ago. If you have vengeance against somebody, it's almost like drinking poison and expecting that person to die because it only stresses you out. It's
Yeah.
very, very bad, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so, Drew. And it's ugly. It's all ugly, and if you can avoid it, avoid it. It makes you look bad. As you think about it, I'm thinking about the end of the movie Scarface with Al Pacino. For some reason, that's in my mind. He's talking, he's drinking, he's shooting. Say hello to my little friend, and you know.
I just saw that movie again, Paul. It's
Oh, really?
incredible. And it was a
Okay.
long time ago.
Yeah, yeah. I was still in the Navy when I saw it. Yeah.
Well, Paul, the name of our show is called The Wingman Show. And the reason the name of our show is The Wingman Show, because we always promote people who help others. This week, we have a great wingman. Matter of fact, an Olympian. Why don't you tell us about our wingman this week, Paul?
Our wingman this week is someone you've heard of. Her name is Jordan Childs. If that name is familiar, it's because it rhymes with her teammate Simone Biles. She's a gymnast, a tremendous gymnast, a tremendous athlete, and she has lent her name to an organization called Brown Girls Gymnastics. And she got involved in 2018 to help promote this organization that helps women of color feel more comfortable in the gymnastics arena. I was surprised to learn that at one point, this champion, she's been a champion from the age of like 10 into her 20s now, once thought about quitting the sport because she didn't feel welcome where she was. I think she's from Vancouver, Washington, and trained in different places. But she was actually thinking of quitting, but decided to stick it out, gut it out, and she's been a world champion. Like I said, she won the silver medal in the 2020 Olympics and a gold medal with the team in 2022, and will be in the Paris Olympics very shortly. But even this champion has challenges, and I guess the lesson here is that when you run into obstacles, you got to run around them. You got to bust through them, go around them, climb around them, go underneath them, but don't just get stopped. And don't just let the feelings of other people stop you from your potential. But the organization Brown Girls Do Gymnastics was founded in 2015 by a coach and an ex-gymnast herself, Miss Darren Moore, in Atlanta, Georgia, actually, and in 2015. And she just started the organization to help kids in her local area, young women learn things about gymnastics and that whole world and coaching and everything. And it's expanded. And now with Jordan Childs joining basically a world famous celebrity, hopefully this organization will peak and expand. Again, they're trying to help youth, teaching life skills, increase diversity in the sport, increase financial remuneration, and teach life skills. That's part of their mantra.
Well, Paul, it looks like whenever you have an obstacle in front of you, it actually makes you work harder. And you and I know this. Hard work gives results. And those obstacles, even though you thought that they were bad, they actually do help you because you work harder, whether it's mentally or physically, to overcome those obstacles. Well, Paul, for you and all of our listeners out there, whatever you think is important, whatever you think is beautiful, and all of you, whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too. And Commander Drew, to you and all the others who listen, like, and share our message, thank you. If you see us on YouTube, please give us a like. It helps with the algorithm. Click the notification bell so you'll get an alert every time we put out a new episode. And today, if you're watching this, try to do something nice for somebody else that they don't even know about.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.